welcome to this video. Today I'm doing a review for the LEGO Bricklink 910044 Wild West train. And usually I don't do reviews on this channel and it won't become a regular thing, but I think especially with the motorization and with the specialities of this train, I can do a video about this. So let's get started. In this case I start with the minifigures because there are 12 of them, including 3 horses. 1 horse is in the train, I will show that later. So these are the minifigures, and it would be a pain to set them up after the parts, so let's start with them. This set comes from the Bricklink Designer Program, which means that the minifigures are pretty simple, or maybe not so simple. They have many accessories and so on, but they don't use new parts. That leads to some funny things, like this train robber, which is using multiple pirate parts. And yeah, this guy also uses parts which I usually would put into the pirates theme. And that's because of the way the LEGO Bricklink Design Program works. And that's by LEGO giving a palette of or some parts, a fixed amount of parts, and then people can build models with these parts, and then they get published, some are selected, and beyond, or with the selected ones, there's a crowdfunding phase where people can buy them, and if enough sets are bought, they are being made as actual sets. And they can't use any new parts, so they can't use new prints or new minifigure parts or so, and that's the reason why they use generic parts. And I'm not sure if I find it better that parts like this pirate thing are used, or if less minifigures would be better. I haven't decided on that, but anyways, there are many figures, and yeah, they use parts which you might already know or have. So let's get to the spare parts and the instructions and so on. For the spare parts, there are quite a few. There are also these horse parts which you can use to make them complete if no minifigure is riding them. And there are many minifigure accessories and many small parts as extras. Then there are a few stickers. I applied most of them, but I left the Bricklink or the Brick Express out because I find that name pretty generic and I don't want it to have on the train, so I left these one out, but the other ones are applied to the set. And then there's this note that this set is actually, or doesn't come with instructions. It comes with its own printed box and a serial number, but it doesn't have printed instructions. For them, you can download the PDF file or go into the LEGO building app, and there you can find the instructions to build the set. After the rails, the first things that you build are these. They don't fit that well into the image. That will get better with the train, sorry for that. The first thing is the water tower, and many people didn't like it. The reason being the top part, where like I can show that. The building technique is pretty special. There are all these tubes or so, and with them there's the circle build, and then you basically put these wooden things on them. And I didn't have that many problems with it. Of course you have to be cautious, you have to make sure that you apply everything correctly. But if you do that, the top part works okay. My main complaint with this water tower is that it's not fixed, so there's always a bit of wiggle between the top part and the bottom part, and I think that that shouldn't be. And also these cross beams aren't connected at all points. That's also not so pretty. I don't know. I don't know if it would be better to, or if there are ways to make it better, but I'm not a fan of these cross beams and the fact that this wiggles around. But there are nice details, like this skeleton, the snake, and some bottles below the water tower. So let's get to the next part. and that is these this windmill or windwheel or whatever. It's built quite differently, much more sturdy because of these large parts. And yeah, the top is pretty simple. It can be turned and it also can be turned this way. Sadly, I didn't see any way to motorize it without major changes in the build. I think it would be cool to have a motorized version of this. But yeah, it's fine. It looks cool, it gives a bit of scenery, so it's completely fine. And now let's get to the highlights of the set, namely the train and the wagons. The first step is to build these these tracks, and it's basically just two parts of plates, and on top of that there's a normal Lego track, and then the train is on top of that. This is obviously the highlight of the set. It's a steam loco, and who doesn't like steam locos? You can see the sticker here. You can also remove the top to see the insides. There are a few instruments, maybe to see the pressure of the tank in front of the cabin. Yeah. There's a cow catcher, which is brick built. Yeah, I think it could have been done a bit better, or the original part looks better, but it's totally fine and it looks good, so that's fine. There are also many details on the side and on top of the loco. These are made with tubes, but it's a good way. There are also sometimes tube constructions which don't make that much fun to build, but this is fine. Everything is connected securely and nothing wiggles around or like is too loose. This is a bit loose, but it's also pretty protected among the other pieces. And of course, maybe the big highlight is the fact that these rods move. So if I move the train, that works pretty good. You can motorize this train. In that case, there are two ways to build the front. The first one doesn't support curves, but if you want to drive curves and I build it in the second way, then you can do it another way, and then you can motorize the set. More on that later. But if you want to motorize it, you might want to add rubber wheels or rubber rings to these wheels so that there's more friction and these parts move better. But there's a disadvantage because that makes the friction bigger, and this set has a huge problem with friction. It's okay the way it is, but you can't attach any more wagons. For example, I attached the Disney wagons and then it couldn't move anymore. So adding rubber rings to the wheels would make it even worse. Yeah, the wagons which come later are pretty heavy, and you have to keep that in mind when you motorize this. I prefer steam engines where the motors are in the main loco and not in the tender, but it's not the case here. So yeah, and I don't see a good way to motorize this in the loco. But that are my thoughts on the engine. I can also show it from the other sides. Next we get to the tender, and this is where the motorization happens. This is also already motorized in my building. I simply added a train motor and a powered up hub. The powered up hub is here. It's basically ready to be motorized. You have to wiggle a bit to make this to fit this cable, and then below is the motor. It's pretty standard train motorization stuff. I think you have to keep in mind is to fix this third axle with the normal building method. It wiggles around, but that's not good for the motorization. So you can fix it, and then it works just fine. And this is basically where all the magic happens. This is where it's motorized. I also applied the stickers here, all of them, and there are also tubes as design. Next there's a flatbed wagon, probably the main goal for the attackers, or if you want to play with it, there are minifigures which look like thieves, and this is probably the main goal of the thieves. There's a piano, I'm not sure how it's called in English, sorry for that, and a few boxes. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Also funny are these car parts decoration, the front car parts. And I think the mini builds look fine. Maybe this part is a bit too large, but yeah, it's a fine thing. It doesn't add too much to the train, but it also, yeah, it's the most simple car, but it's fine. Also, all of the cars use magnets, including the loco and the tender, so this can attach easily to other train part or to other trains, which also use magnets. Next, there's the passenger car. It looks like this. It's pretty big. I think it's even 9 wide, not 8 wide. So it doesn't compare good to normal city trains, but it's probably fine for the Disney train and also for the Orient Express. You can detach the roof. There are also small details here in the roof. I like that. There are also lamps at the ends. And I also like the way this roof sticks into the other parts. And we can take a look inside. And there are many decorations. There are these seats with tables and maybe lights. And there's for luggage. There are these holders. And also, I broke something. Also, the train doors can be opened here. I think it's nice to see that. But yeah, of course, if you make 9 wide trains, you can do more things than you can do with 6 wide trains. So it's also to be expected to have more details. And to the last car, I'm not sure what it's called in English, maybe box car or so. The roof also has details, it also has a few rare details, like it's been used a lot on the roof. There were also similar details on the roof of the passenger wagon, and there's also rear with these wooden planks. These are built in an interesting way. But first I show the other things, because I don't want to destroy it in the middle of the video. This door can be opened, so things can be put into and out of the wagon. There's the third horse and a few details. I think a few things are hidden in there. Yeah. It looks good, but it's also pretty heavy because of the building technique. So again, I would prefer a motorized loco for a train like this with a proper motor and not the train motor, like with a motor with more torque. And these sides are built with a small building technique. Yeah, these are basically just clipped into the side, and they're built sideways, which makes this used look. And there are also ladders for people to climb the wagon. So all in all, I think that the train looks pretty good. Of course, it's not cheap. It cost, I think, around $300 when it was released. And now you can't buy it new anymore. It's only available in the second-hand market or in the aftermarket. But it's a very pretty train. It has good cars. I will definitely keep it in my collection, and I'm pretty happy to have it. Yeah, I hope that LEGO makes more steam trains, and it has its disadvantages, but it's also expected for Bricklink Design Program builds that they're not as stable as normal LEGO builds, because for LEGO ID sets, LEGO changes the design and makes it more stable. But for these sets, these are more or less only built by the designers themselves, by the fans, and LEGO doesn't change much before they sell it, because it's also a limited quantity and it's for fans, so people usually know what they're buying. So that was it for this video. You can also tell me in the comments if you bought this set, how do you like it, and if you motorized it. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video, and bye.